Good morning and happy Tuesday. So today I am going to talk to you about overwhelm. So we are all faced with overwhelm at some time, right? Nobody is immune to it, including myself. And when it strikes, it can often leave us feeling stuck and with these low energy negative emotions like frustration, anger, and all of that. So what I want to do today, and I want to do this in less than 5 minutes because I know that we're all busy, is I want to give you the top 2 reasons that I see why overwhelm happens and then how to deal with it. It's really simple. Okay. I'm Dr. Samantha Hayatakis, psychologist, wellness advocate, and holistic health expert. And I want to welcome you to a completely different approach to health and well-being. It is my belief, it is my mission to help you make the right choices for your body because you want to and it's easy, not because you have to, because honestly, that never works anyway. And when you not only eat clean, but live clean and think clean, the miraculous side effect is creating a life so incredible, you can cue the scene from When Harry Met Sally of I'll have what she's having, because everyone will want in on what you're doing. So let's get started with overwhelm. So the top 2 reasons that I see people struggling with overwhelm are not setting boundaries, and the second one is doing something new, unfamiliar, or out of your comfort zone. So let's tackle the first one, which is not setting boundaries. This means that you're simply overextending yourself. This means that you're trying to do all the things, right? Let's face it, you have a career, you have a family, you have a spouse, you have children, you have all of these things going on. You're saying yes to everybody. You're trying to do all the things. That overachiever in you is coming up. The problem is when you say yes to all these people, overwhelm strikes because you cannot possibly get it all done. And the need for you to be really good at things is failing, because when you say yes to everything, you're saying no to doing nothing, right? So you're not getting anything done effectively. You're not being efficient, and you're essentially just not succeeding at it. So would you rather be the person that says yes to everything and really gets none of it done and is thought of as somebody who's unreliable or always frustrated all the time? Or would you rather be the person who sets boundaries, possibly saying no to some things and being efficient and as on point as ever? I would rather opt for the second one, right? I'd rather opt to be that person. It's better for my state of mind. And a perfect example is last night, a very dear close friend of mine texted me. It was around 9:30, which is usually when I'm starting to fall asleep. And I was just turning off my ringer and I saw that her text came through. And I had a quick decision to make. I could either start going back and forth and texting her and catching up, which I knew was going to possibly lead us for another half hour and I'd be going into that 10 o'clock timeline, or I could let her know that I needed to go to bed. And that's what I did. I said, listen, I'm starting to doze off. I'll touch base with you in the morning. Did she get mad? Not at all. She just laughed about how our schedules are so opposite. I'm an early riser and she's a night owl. And it was done. So years ago, I would have, wanting to not offend anybody, I would have been texting her back and forth. But by setting that boundary, by saying I couldn't do it, I wasn't overwhelmed with it, I got the sleep that I needed, and we touched base this morning. And I texted her early this morning, and we're good to go. So what I'd love for you to do is, if you find that you're getting overwhelmed because of your lack of boundary setting, is I want you to start getting used to the word no. Start saying no. People will respect it. You have to understand what your limits are, because if you don't, nobody else will, right? So the second reason for overwhelm has to do with when you're doing something new, something unfamiliar, something out of your comfort zone, you're trying to make a change. Understand this, that your mind, your body is a creature of habit. It wants you to do things that it knows and that it's familiar with. So when you start to change and you start to do something different, icky feelings can come up like anxiousness, fear, being unsure, being frustrated. All of these things can pop up. So what that means is a lot of times people will cue that as saying, maybe this change isn't good for me, maybe this wasn't meant to be anyway. And what they end up doing is they end up stopping the shift that they were making. But instead, what you need to understand is that is your body and your mind's way of saying, hey, we don't know what's going on here. We're not familiar with this, and it is your job to push through it. I see this with every single one of my coaching clients, every single one of them, right? Nobody's immune to it, because when change happens, the body responds and says, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Let's not do this. Let's get back to our comfort zone. Let's get back to what we know. But know this, when that overwhelm strikes, when that frustration strikes, that is when you are on the cusp of breaking through to the other side, to that change. That's part of what I do with my coaching clients, is I guide them, I see them through to the other side. Because think about it, when we all think about making a change, are we overwhelmed? Not really. We're usually pretty pumped, we're pretty excited about it. It's only when we're in the throes of that change that we start feeling these feelings. And so many people make the mistake of saying, this wasn't meant for me anyway. This wasn't a good idea, this doesn't feel good. And they miss the opportunity to get to the other side. So understand that overwhelm is this sneaky little thing in this particular scenario where it has nothing to do with the change that you're making. It has everything to do with the fact that your mind and body aren't used to it yet. And you're creating new neural pathways. And when that happens and when you get to the other side, it's like you feel great, right? So I want to close this down because I want to try to stay at the 5-minute mark. And remember, overwhelm happens to everybody. There are 2 main reasons that I see. One is boundary setting. If you're not setting boundaries and you're saying yes to everything, I want you to start getting used to saying no to some things. Because remember, if you do not set limits for yourself and let people know what your limits are, nobody's going to respect that. Nobody's going to set the limits for you, right? And the second one is cue the fact that overwhelm when you're trying to do something different, trying to do something new, is just a signal that change is happening. And your body's job is to get you back to what it knows. So when you start feeling that, instead of just folding the towel in and saying, I'm not doing this, realize that you are on the cusp of real change. So thank you for watching today. I hope this served you, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday. Bye.